Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Hey, nice to see you, Zvika and others. Okay. This is a rare opportunity for me to give a sermon with a phone in my hand. I'll take advantage of it. Yeah. Our Torah portion this week revolves around, or at least at the beginning of it, revolves around the conclusion of the story of Pinchas. Pinchas is a great zealot. He's, we're told at the end of last week's Torah portion that this great promiscuity breaks out. The Jews and the Moabites seem to be getting along way too well. And so there's this rebellion going on, and God is very upset about it. And he sends a plague against the Jewish people. Now, meanwhile, the leading edge of this immorality was that around the sacrifices that they were offering up to the Moabite gods, there were sexual improprieties going on as well. And at the end of the last week's Torah portion, we're told that one of the leaders, actually, of one of the tribes of Israel takes one of these Moabite women, and he's going to have his way with her, and everybody sees what's going on. And Moses and the elders, they're standing there crying, they don't know what to do. Pinchas knows what to do. He grabs the spear, and he rams the spear through the two of them. Plague ended, situation resolved somehow, happily ever after. And so we're told at the beginning of this week's Torah portion, God says to Moshe, Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen, Pinchas, the son of Elazar, the son of Aaron the Kohen, he's done a great thing. He has calmed down my anger against the Jewish people by acting in a zealous fashion. And I didn't end up destroying the Jewish people because I was so upset with them, with this tremendous corruption that they had involved themselves with the Moabites. Okay. So the rabbis noticed something very strange, kind of hard to miss. Right, usually in the Torah, we're told so-and-so, the son of so-and-so. But here, it's Pinchas ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen. We're told that Pinchas was the son of Elazar, who was the grandson of Aaron HaKohen. So why? Well, all of a sudden, that we get the grandparents involved. I mean, yeah, there's nachas to be chef, don't get me wrong. I mean, Pinchas did a good thing. His grandfather was probably very proud of him. But generally, the Torah doesn't describe lineage that way. So what's the deal here? So Rashi helps us out, and it tells us that, listen, you know, it wasn't like Pinchas took a spear, stabbed these people, the plague ended, and everybody was like, Pinchas, you're the greatest guy ever. Wow, you did a great thing. Apparently, he had quite a few detractors for this action. There were people amongst the tribes who were shaming him. And they would say as follows, have you seen this guy? There's a pun here, which is a little bit hard to render in English. His mother's father, who was Yisro, used to fatten up animals for Avodah Zarah. And what did he do? He kills one of the princes of the tribes of Israel. Who is this nothing guy? This nothing guy whose grandparents were not just not from, they weren't even Jewish, they were Avodah Zarah, right? And this guy comes along and he does whatever he does. So he had resistance. He had people who were arguing with him. They did the wrong thing. So what does God do? God sends a message through Moshe. Everybody should know. Pinchas did the right thing. We're miyaches him to Aharon. Rashi is explaining, we're miyaches him, we connect him to Aaron because Aaron was a pursuer of peace. So too, right? Pinchas was doing it for the right intentions. He was doing it to pursue peace. I'd like to take a modern spin on this a little bit. Hey, zealots in the streets. Wrongs are being done. Zealots in the streets correcting the wrongs. God bless them. They right? Maybe they're doing the right thing. So listen, I'm not here to judge right, wrong. This is not my purpose. I just want to take a moment now to think through the process here that was required to conclude that a zealous act was a meritorious act. clearly, plenty of people didn't think it was a meritorious act. They thought he had a lot of chutzpah to do it, right? But when somebody acts, right, when somebody acts with zealousy, when somebody's a kanoi, when he acts in a zealous fashion, right, people are going to challenge it. And it's a big question whether he does the right thing or not. It's not so clear that he does the right thing to everybody, clearly, because he's getting hassled. God has to remind everybody, listen, I know it was an act of zealousy, but it was done for the right intentions and the right purposes. We have systems of law and law enforcement and protecting people and civil liberties and civil rights. We have all these things in this country, and they're designed to protect people. And we have to work within that system. Are there times, is there a situation to act with zealousy, with kanos? Is there such a situation? And there might be. But before you go acting that way, or especially in our case, after people have acted that way, we're certainly entitled to judge their intentions. As a matter of fact, automatically when you act in a fashion which is zealous like this, when you break with what's the normal system of law and apply a different type of situation as Pinchas did, automatically you should expect scrutiny. And that scrutiny is there because when you're acting in a way which is outside the system, your intentions better be really, really, really good. You're held to a very, very high standard. A high standard which we think we see very clearly people are not holding themselves to despite acting zealously in our country right now. And I want to share with you because I think it epitomizes the criticism of people on the left who have not been speaking out, well, left, center, right, maybe. But anyway, people at least on the left who have not, despite speaking out against the police and speaking out against racism and speaking out in this and the other thing, they're not speaking out so much about anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism we don't bother with so much. Right, so what happened? This receiver, Deshaun Jackson, this receiver on the Philadelphia Eagles, who, by the way, I hate with a passion, not because of what he said, but because Deshaun Jackson killed the Giants one year with a punt return in a game. It was like one of the worst moments in Giants history. So Deshaun Jackson wasn't doing so well with me to start with. But Deshaun Jackson posted a bunch of quotes that were anti-Semitic in nature. He basically even quoted Hitler. He made a mistake, right? Whatever. He admits he made a mistake and he's going to do better. And he had a meeting and he did a little tshuva. It's very nice. But meanwhile, here he is speaking out anti-Semitically, and he's speaking out, he's quoting Hitler. Why isn't everybody screaming? Oh, we don't want to scream. We don't want to scream, of course, because we don't want to distract. I understand anti-Semitism is important, blah, blah, blah. I understand that it's important, but we don't want to distract from the current causes. The current causes are what are really important. We don't want to get distracted. So who answers? I'm sure there were answers from many Jewish organizations. I saw some things. It's wonderful. I want to share with you an answer by Chris Long. Chris Long is a former football player with the Philadelphia Eagles, coincidentally. Right? Chris Long comes along on social media and he says the following. Beautiful. I didn't see, and I haven't, by the way, Chris Long is not Jewish. Otherwise, what would his name be? It'd be Langer. So we know that he's not, he'd be Langer. Right? So we know he's not Jewish. Here's what Chris Long had to say. I didn't see, and I haven't seen nearly enough people saying, yeah, man, this was a misstep. Certainly anti-Semitism is not the main event in this country, but we can walk and chew gum here. Hello. I am just not willing to accept anybody saying, stick to the task at hand. We can't address people making anti-Semitic comments, right? Beautifully said, right? Hello, can you walk and chew gum at the same time? I understand you're walking, protesting about issues that are important issues, whether you're doing it the right way, which many, many people are, or you're doing it the wrong way, which some people are doing as well. And it's causing a lot of problems. We understand all of that. Okay, I understand you got to walk. We understand the main event right now is not anti-Semitism. I'm ready to accept that, and I'm Jewish. It's not the main event right now. But can we walk and chew gum at the same time? It would really be so hard all of a sudden to get a press release. Tweeting is very hard. For those of you who haven't tweeted before, you have to actually enter like 144 characters. Or is it up to 288 now? I don't remember. But anyway, you got to enter all these characters. You have to type on your phone. So we all know how hard it is to type on your phone. So Nebuch, all these people who've been speaking out about racism, they can't make a tweet about anti-Semitism. This is too much for them. All I'll tell you is, since I have a right to judge you by a higher standard because you're acting zealously, you're tearing stuff down, you're breaking laws, there are people being attacked. I mean, there's all kinds of things going on. So maybe you're acting zealously for your cause. I accept that that's a possibility. But I'll tell you what I really suspect, since I'm going to judge you by a higher standard. If you can't walk and chew gum, if you're all fahitzed about racism and racism and police brutality, yada, 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 and you can't put a little piece of chewing gum in your mouth and make a tweet, hey, Deshaun Jackson, we know you feel bad, but anti-Semitism is a wrong thing. We don't like anti-Semitism. What's the matter? You can't walk and chew gum at the same time? I can't tell you. Listen, I'm not here to tell you who's right and who's wrong. These are complex issues. I haven't embraced them in all their complexity. I'm not here to tell you who's right and who's wrong. I can tell you, though, that if you can speak out about racism, you can speak out about anti-Semitism. And if you can't manage to type 144 lousy characters into your tweet because of anti-Semitism, then I got big questions on what you're typing in about racism also. It's not so simple. You can't divorce the two. Okay, either you're fighting for the right thing or you're not fighting for the right thing. Anti-Semitism is racism. It's not a secret to anybody. Hello out there. Okay, let's walk and chew gum. That's what we need to do here. Okay, we can ask people to walk and chew gum. If you can't chew gum, if you can't manage to speak out and make a tweet or a statement through your political, your assistants, you can't manage to type something up, you know something, I got big questions about everything you're doing. I do. And you know how I learned to have big questions about everything you're doing? From Pinchas. God has to tell us that Pinchas did the right thing. God has to make it. We have verses in the Torah which doesn't waste space. It's not like what the Torah does. But we have verses in the Torah that tell you that Pinchas did the right thing. Even though it's kind of self-evident because there was a plague of 24,000 people died. And then Pinchas did his thing and the plague stopped. So it must have been the right thing. We're not making any inferences when it comes to zealous action. We have to be very careful. We're judging, right? We got to be very careful. Zealous action. We're going to judge to a higher standard. God has to tell us he did the right thing. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be a big political scientist. I don't have to know as much as I'd like to know about all these issues. If you can't walk and chew gum, if you can't manage to decry somebody posting a quote from Adolf Hitler in an anti-Semitic context, if you can't manage to tweet about that, just shut your mouth already. Enough. We're not stupid. We're the Jewish people, okay? We're the Jewish people. We created this whole equal under the law thing. This is ours. Okay, we understand equality. We understand being treated fairly. We also have thousands of years of history that tell us that we have a right to demand to be treated fairly. A lot of history. We can compete with other groups when it comes to history of suffering. Okay, we're all too able to compete. Listen, we have to observe. Everybody's got to observe carefully and think very carefully about their own motives. Our motives cannot be about the wrong things. They have to be the right motives. If we're going to act zealously, you better be damn sure you're right, and you better act consistently, because if you don't act consistently, it's not worth a damn either. Okay. I got a little excited. Why? Because quite frankly, I'm a Jew, and if you can ignore anti-Semitism, you're damn right I'm going to get excited. Meanwhile, let's all observe and pay attention to our own motivations. When we feel like we need to act zealously, I got to jump on that. That's really wrong. Slow down a second, judge your intentions, measure yourself carefully. Let's do our part to contribute to shalom, to contribute to the blessing that God gave Pinchas, the blessing of peace. Let's do our part to contribute to that. Our country will be a lot more peaceful place if everybody would just slow down for a second from your position that you think is absolutely right and nobody else could possibly be right. If y'all would just slow down for a second and look at your intentions and observe carefully, that's what we need to do to be sure we're doing the right thing. Let's get out there. Let's keep doing the right thing. Let's keep doing the safe thing, of course. but keep doing the right thing. I want to wish everybody a good Shabbos. I want to thank the Chazan again for his Kabbalah Shabbos. And we should be together soon. And in the meantime, you know, we're not stupid. We know when somebody's being sincere. We see through your insincerity out there, all you people. We see through your insincerity. We know who's serious and who's not serious. And in the meantime, let's be serious. Let's be good. Let's look at our own intentions and do the best that we can do for ourselves. Shabbat Shalom.